Most welcome to my channel. Today I'd like to talk about emotions versus the higher levels of sensuality, sensibility, and how to upgrade the self, the electrical organism that we are, into a higher level of balance. And with that comes higher mentality, which has not been educated on the planet and which are the larger missing links in any educational system on earth. So evolution today really demands of everybody to change and understand that everything in this world is pure consciousness. Once we get that, we get into the mechanisms of what defines our consciousness. So most people today living in a high level of fear, anger, insecurities, name it. There are so many emotions, especially the emotions that come from past values, from past educational systems that did not make it until today. Otherwise, we wouldn't have a world running on such a high degree of fear and lost mentality, or not knowing how to upgrade our brain and bring the unconscious levels, the deeper unconscious levels, up to the surface in order to eliminate them, because that is simply recycling the old same stuff. So remember, when you get up in the morning and you always do the same stuff, you get your cup of coffee, you eat something, and then I don't know what you do. You go to work, you go into a meditational space, you do your fitness, but that changing, that particular clock changes everything. And what I mean to say what I did is, in this particular video, I want to take you to a level of understanding that once you are creating the will essentially to move, or to move out of free will and move into divine directions, what is termed divine will, then you will get directions every day, and you will get into a state in which the body will do things before you can think them. So that is an extraordinary high field of consciousness that is always directed by the divine forces and sources you are connected to. For many, it is termed meditation, and meditation is nothing less, nothing more than tapping into your authenticity as a light, a clock, or a light being that taps into information with its authenticity, minus the old broken fractures in the body. So from birth on, even in the womb, we have been exposed to extreme levels of emotions from the hood, from your environment, from your surrounding. From there on, as a childhood, we pick up the mentality of parents, of teachers, of family members. No matter who pops into your energy field, we just absorb that. We drink that like a daily elixir of density, negativity in most cases. And so what happens today is that people keep on recycling that and not enabling self to move into the higher levels of information and mentality that carries truth, mentality that opens up the degrees of integrity, trust, faith, mental strength, and above all, that is really maturity that should be educated from a very, very, very young age, and how to work with energy fields. What we've seen in the past years, or at least past 100 years, is not allowing the universal neurosciences or the new science coming onto the earth to be educated to people. And so we have been streaming in the lower levels of the matrix as seen in the movie The Matrix. We are moving into crystalline currency that can be educated, that overrides always these same conditioned states in consciousness. And many people move from that conditioned state of consciousness into a high degree of addictions, um, because they have, even children have experienced too many traumatic cycles with their environment, and people did not know how to really defeat these negative fields from their present fields, because it's not in the educational system. That is easy to understand. And so today I'd like to come up with programs that and many teachings, of course, that deprogram the old cycles of being and living being on earth. And so many other videos I already explain what fear can do to your body. It breaks down your immune system to such a level you can even die from it. Or many young people even take their lives from being bullied at, from being put in a dark space of high mental negativity and all that psychological content that goes on. So breaking the cycle of old belief systems, of old habits, from everything we believed, from anybody in the surrounding and the surrounding itself, that brings relief, that brings you into a space where you can exactly release everything that happened in your past. And so you can allow your futuristic visions to open up in the body, and getting to know the physiology of your body, getting to know the anatomy of your body. And it's not hard to study. So it can be done, as there is, in this case, more than enough information to look at how a brain functions. So we have the many lobes in the brain. We have the nervous system, the parasympathetic nervous system, the sympathetic nervous system, but there's not exactly a fusion, like it's a fight and flight syndrome from one stress hormonal content that moves into the other hormones of the body, that clogs the brain, that clogs the blood circulation, that makes you move into no breath at all. So what makes the body function essentially is teaching yourself how to move into the functions of the eternal breath, the immortal breath, the breath that goes on and on and on. So your system cannot collapse, and that demands a high level of mentality without the old cycles or the old emotional content. And it is possible today, with all the knowledge we have in the new neurosciences, the spiritual neurosciences, to move into a field that has one constant, and that are the elements. We are made up of elements, so we can recharge elements that have been lost in the body, and that feed the mental bodies, the psychological bodies, minus all the emotions, and moving that in the higher sensitive bodies or the higher psyche in order to receive information. So the suffering from the emotional body is really so intense. So we really need to come up with overriding or eliminating at least old consciousness, the subconsciousness level especially, so we can become conscious of what makes our body and our brain do things we actually don't want. We don't want this stress. We don't want to live in a space which breaks down your joy and your health and everything that makes up your relationships, your wealth, and jobs, and all these experiences need to leave your arena, your live streams, and so bring them back to life. There is so much we can do to clear out the muscular contact, the blood circulation, the nervous system especially, so they don't synapse the old fears, anxiety, those levels of like being implemented into a prison actually. So we all need to come out of that old prison that dictates our body. The old dictations need to be evaporated, and that is so much doable with a few techniques. And once you get to learn that technique, setting up a field for your medication or healing is very important to learn from, because the field is that that allows for higher mentality, high consciousness actually, and the inner psyche to move up into the higher levels, into a new level of consciousness where these high levels of traumatic experiences do no longer exist. That is quite a high level experience, and the best way to do it, of course, is in group consciousness, where everybody leaves these emotional bodies behind, work on the emotional bodies, these fears, sadness, angers, name it. There's so much distress in this world. When they are leaving out, then a higher level of the fields, or what is also termed the crystalline grids, come in unification, and so you amplify your energy. Remember what Tesla said, everything is high level energy. The electricity that you wear needs to be rewired. Rewiring consciousness can be done at any time. You can start out today. It doesn't matter what age you have. You can do it with some support and alignment and direction. And so when you find that direction, then it's easy. Then it's basically the way that we translate anything that is not alive in the body, and there is a lot, is obstruction in your health, in your wealth, in your joy, in what you are. So your bioorganism needs to basically reorganize or invert the negativity into positivity, so that it means in the first place eliminating all those false belief systems and everything what brings you in a level actually of like you need to do some things to feel alive, which is really the other way around. So the electrical cords in the body, the electrical output, the synapses of like the brain is a huge electrical mechanism which you can dictate which information to take and which information is long gone to the past. So we can really command the brain, become our own command station, and giving ourselves access to these higher levels in which your true power comes back to the forefront. And that takes some time to integrate, but relief comes one day at a time, and learning these techniques is just being willing to do it. So here a lot of natural mechanism that defeats density in the body have been lost, so they say. But the new scientists here, I've been studying it for more than 20 years, having results like one day, from one day into the other, it's easy to eliminate. Like if you've had, for example, many bad experiences with jobs and having negative outputs and people not liking you, being in the degrading levels of consciousness, and if it's fair or not, you can stay into a field. There is a very high level technique and quick techniques as well, in which you can eliminate all those experiences, which is a necessity really, in order for them to not recycle back into your new futuristic platform. I've been doing that a lot of times, so where people could not really tap into my energy, they said, I cannot speak to you. I said, of course you can't, because all you want to speak or talk about is density, negativity. So, and my energy field immediately defeats that, because I'm trained into that for 20 years. So that's easy. And so, of course, they try many other different levels. So I came up with another technique or a trick from the universe, and I told myself, let's put the technique of truth into everybody's throat on the work front, the work platform. Let's say, like, if you have maybe, for example, 20 colleagues, you can focus in meditation. Put that into it with techniques like light, polychromatic colors, so a whole range of colors, but you need the knowledge which one that will work. And I got a symbolism. I put that symbol in there, and I just let that run into that particular field, like for 20 minutes, no more than that. Next day I came at the workplace. Jeezy, what came out of their mouths. I mean, that was going crazy, and I could not hold it back. That is the way how truth works. You can do it with yourself, you can do it with other places, but it's a great way to work with the justice system. For example, right? We need new people in the justice system. We need new people on every platform, especially when it comes to teaching psychology and eliminating or reformatting the brains from those who suffer from psychosis. Everybody has some level of that, I guess. And understanding, being willing to do it. If you understand that, that's the only barrier you need to break. Because chances are you will be living the same life over and over and over again till you break your own free will into divine will and tell yourself that you are open to teaching yourself these new platforms. So moving out of the old emotional standards and moving into a level of great mental joy is where we are all moving into, because if you become that, then of course everybody you meet will become that, and so these teachings go on and on and on. So the nerves start growing, and they normally do not go into many different spaces where they shouldn't go, but sometimes does happen if the transmitters do not work in a balanced state of being. So the information flows into a different perception, actually, because it processes data differently, and then things get worse in the body. You get sick, you get stressed out from any single mental note you get from any level of information. And so we cannot take care of electrical if we cannot take care of electrical signals, we create imbalances. We need to learn how to discern what is wrong, what is right. And that is easy to do when aligning to that technology that brings that true. So meditation as a medication is really fun to do because you have results every day. So, and here a signal, you understand signals, right? When you're hungry, you do know you need food. When you're tired, you do know you need sleep. Not listening to these signals, except when clearing out the self, we can go without food for a few days, right? Because you're in such a high level of energy, nobody can cut that down. So we need to restore balance in education and bring through the education of how to eliminate the emotional distress on a high level scale globally. And we all have been educated how to take in physical food, right? You open your mouth, you put into your taste buttons, whatever that you like, and it feeds the body, gives it energy, right? How come we have not been educated in the mental, psychological food industry? Because it has been held back. That is the obvious. And there is a lot of information, and so the more we can gather in the larger groups, or at least in every faculty and university, to re-educate that, and getting people out of the distress. Like most people cannot even make the right decisions for themselves because they don't know themselves anymore. They don't know where they want to go into, and that can be educated as well. So the new neuroscientists need to bring health in these defined essences that make up the human species, and understanding that, like, at present times we experience all these pandemics. That is ringing the bell here, that if we want to change the physical body, the psychology, eliminate the emotional stuff out, getting into a high mentality, it means that we need to feed ourselves with a high level of nutrition from the ecosystem that is completely out of balance. So the geology is completely out of balance. And once we bring ourselves back into balance, into a new personality, because we need to break the old barriers of the old personality that essentially has been created by other people, by the environment. So everything that is within at the present moment or from your past needs to be deleted, evaporated, and that is big fun to do because you actually get to know yourself and who you are and what you want from life and why you've been planted on the planet, because it's essential knowledge. And so let's hope that we can bring that back somehow, somewhere, because if we move into balance with the mental, psychological, higher levels of the spiritual body that allows for the information of the bigger fields, the universal fields, to stream in, like there is now, and we can move fast in evolution. If only these doors in the educational system would open up and allow us to bring that through. So cells are a reality that need to be addressed according to what evolution designs. And evolution is designing that our cells, the particles within, should start to open up into the authenticity of the air that you breathe. We can put consciousness on the air that you breathe, and the more purified that air becomes, the more purified your body becomes. That, let's say, for example, if you open up your energy field into a level where you want reconstruction of consciousness, so the glandular construction, the glands in the body, for example, the adrenal glands, if there is high emotional content, like somebody dying on the streets, everybody would run up to that and tap in that lower consciousness, like, I want to see what is happening there. It's got nothing to do with you, leave it alone. But that is mass consciousness, actually. And so when we release that from the adrenal glands, and also the output from all the other glands, the master glands in the body, the many eyes we can open, the circumference of eyes actually have university. Now that may be Chinese for some people, but it can become a reality. And the reality needs to be that the invisible, the so-called invisible, was only invisible because we have been streaming on a high level of negativity, density, debris. Look at the killing fields, look at the war zones, look at the food we need to eat, look at the synthetics, look how the ecological system has been killed, look how the animal kingdoms have been killed. That, do you think all these divine sources and forces would allow us to see what light sources are when living in that degree of poor respect? That is the only reason why the invisible is so-called invisible. And so moving into the light fields of meditation through deconstruction of a light body in a light field, or crystalline grid systems is what it is termed, you will open up these higher levels of integrity, maturity, and the higher mental states in which you will wear knowledge, wisdom, new information globally for everybody, and in your particular field in which you can specialize, and that is pure strength. Strength can be opened up to your spinal cords, but you need this technology. So here, with little steps in creating a field that defeats negativity, that defeats old emotions, is what we need in the first place. Then we start up eliminating past experiences, past states of consciousness, especially emotions, but also mental states of consciousness. And from there on, you get into teaching yourself the spiritual, higher mental states of being. And that is so incredibly beautiful, because the nature of everything in existence actually always shows where we need to reconstruct, where we need to balance, to purify, allow new information. The benefits us all, actually, that would benefit us all globally speaking. And so there is no particular cure method, but there is alignment through the field and through divine will. And so there's many people who don't even have the will, who do not even want to know how to. That is because their brains are being kept so much in captivity, in prison, that they do not even understand the words I'm speaking. So one thing we need to understand is that the method of education on the earth plane is far too old. It is so ancient, it doesn't even allow for evolution, and so it needs to change drastically. Universal nanotechnology, such as a higher level of spiritual neuroscience, has not been allowed. We need new directions, generating sources, forces from nature, and you need to know it's all available. High volumes of pure nutrition is available through the herbal kingdoms, through many, many seeds and plants that have not been found on the planet yet, can be found through your meditation, that becomes as crystal clear as your field. So the invisible becomes visible. And so what nature is doing at this time with this pandemic going on is it bypasses any impurity, especially the air. We need to purify the air on the planet, right? And so we need to apply new technology, and that can be done. Imagine millions of people who would purify the air. Let's start with a few hundred of people that expand into a few thousand of people. I mean, it would monitor our blood, our tissues, our electrical circuits. We can easily turn on new hormones and turn the old hormonal content completely out of the equation, that because it has no value in this age. So we can regenerate when educating self on light technology that brings the disease cells back to life. And when cells come alive and we can triplicate, quadruplicate them, we move slowly into the technology of light waves from light particles or light parts, into light waves. And there's where the information becomes so interesting. You become unstoppable. You wouldn't even recognize your own life because it is gone. Old experiences, they can be eliminated in a few days' times, but you need persistence. You need to allow self to give yourself a few months of time to really recalculate your entire existence into a new existence where everything is health, wealth, joy. I mean, everybody wants to experience that. Everybody wants a great job, but we need to work on it. We need to eliminate what doesn't work anymore in this world. And so we need to reorganize our organism with the biology of the earth to match evolution on the planet and all systems in the universe in the first place. So educating about the systems in the universe and incorporating them, integrating them, because everything out there supports everything in here, you know. And from changing or completely rewiring the brain set, especially the hormonal content, from there on, we can move into a purified field of air. And so when that air is being educated, you move into a light vehicle. So many institutions have to value at this time team mentality and bringing the faculties together somehow, and that is possible so that we can create one heartbeat that moves up with a new level of consciousness. It may cost us the rest of our lives, but then again, education will become a lot more interesting. So, and we need to go from the study of the origin into new evolutionary designs. And so knowledge needs to become an integral part in any education. It comes to the transmutation into from cells into light parts into light waves, and that demands crystallization, and thus the term crystalline grids, or the field, the gathering places, knowing where the power plants are in the body. An example here, many do know that we have atomic clocks, and they are so accurate because they apply what? They apply crystals. I'm wearing crystals all of the time. It changes my consciousness. It changes my anatomy. It changes my let's say my informational construction in the field, in the crystalline grids. Like some crystals give you information, some crystals will heal the body, the bone construction, the nerves, whatever it is, but you need the knowledge. So if we look at the books about crystals these days, that is really for kindergarten. We need to move into the higher levels of knowledge with crystals, and they can only speak loud when moving into that field and releasing the emotional body again. And so here I'm very eager or passionate moving that type of schooling up into colleges, universities. I'm waiting for the doors to open up, because if I could teach on an everyday level, like 1 hour a day in the morning or in the evening, that would completely change a university. In 1 month time, it would be a complete different construction where no density could ever possibly exist, let alone disease. So if you look at the light clock that counts the bounces, we have the same in our body with crystallization of the cells into light waves, and then that starts bouncing off each other. So you feel those light waves all of the time and changing the particles into light parts actually, and light waves. And there's many light waves, many. I mean, the whole universe is a whole big university that is actually, if you want to understand it, never ending knowledge, unlimited wisdom. So, and we are far from that. So the brain always keeps on storing information. In present times, when you don't work with your medication as a meditation, it's hard for people to decipher between right and wrong, and reason why many people move into addictions, because they keep on recycling, and not knowing that they are recycling the same old emotions and thoughts without breaking that cycle. And that is what we're gonna do, what I wish to do in the larger seminars actually. And so it's like, if we look at animals, they can predict everything just by looking at their prey, and we have lost that. We need to be able, if we want to learn to manifest instantly, we need to be able to predict. It's actually some sort of time travel, right? So moving out of synthetic chemicals that contradict the truth of health, that is where we need to move into. So we need to eliminate depression on a very large scale and break these cycles. It needs to end. The cycles of same thought forms, the cycles of same mentality, not growing up. I mean, being stuck, and I mean, the sensory data in our mechanism, that is a computer, and realigning that computer, all these lobes, realigning the lobes and knowing what they are about, and realigning the nerves that fire and that cooperate with all the glands in the brain, cooperate with the glands in our heart mechanisms, then as we move out from where the heart crushed. And most people do not even know what love is, so they think they do. They think that when they love somebody, that is true love, so that is far off. So here we really need to reconstruct the mindset, especially of the young children. And divine will bring that through. That is so easy to educate. Should there be allowance? So everything in our life depends on experiences, and then we get to choose our experiences. So we can give children and young people more choices. So teenagers need to have a lot more choices. Like there is so much that needs to leave the arena. I mean, it is really, really endless. So here, let's start off. I have an online about how to set yourself into that field in which you can start off some alignments out of the old, an alignment out of depression, an alignment out of the old feeding system, an alignment to clear especially the stomach, the liver, um, all these tracks in the body that carry so many emotions that needs to be done. And I'll be planning as well to open up uh, at least a 7-day seminar in which I get to teach you how to do that and never waver from it, because sometimes when people stand alone, they waver, they don't have the consciousness of strength, mental strength actually, especially in the first stages. So in that way it's a bit more easy when doing it in group consciousness, like a class of a max of 50 people, for example, and moving them from one level of consciousness and the emotional body into a high degree of self-dependency, self-empowerment, and where they learn techniques through which you can eliminate all that old stuff from one day into the other and change your entire organism, and with it will change the intake of food, mentally, psychology, and especially physically. So it's not up to us to ask people to move into a vegetarian diet when the glandular construction, your hormonal construction, and everything that wires your brain has not been prepared. So in such a seminar, we will eliminate the old tastes to food, and so you will experience actually that you cannot have that anymore, and that is what we need to move into the higher states of evolution, the higher states of the human species, and how that can expand from the individual, from group consciousness into society, and how we can create in a short amount of time a healthy planet. So loads and loads of work is needed. Let's start today. If you have any questions, shoot. Are you interested in online? You don't understand it? Shoot me a question. I'm available. I've been a counselor for 20 years. I enjoy doing it, and oftentimes I've seen I could change consciousness like in 10 minutes time, because it's my specialty. When I see somebody, I read it, I give advice, and hop they flow with it. Like I've seen a few miracles happening, and that is where we need to move into. So please don't hesitate. Please ask. I don't eat humans. I don't eat negativity. So I'll always bring you or hold you in the highest states of light and thus the highest states of consciousness. So please share the video, bring it to wherever there would be an open portal, an open door, because I'm really looking for that open door to really get that to people and change them overnight, which is needed at the time being, right? And especially in hospitals, nurses should learn this, physicians, scientists, we all need to move out of the old ways, and that is moving into a higher level of integrity and respect, and thus the higher levels of where maturity can be understood. So thank you so much for being with me, and yeah, take good care of yourself. Take good care, sweet people. Thank you. Bye.